Holy shit, look at that guy on the wrong side of the highway. He's going to kill somebody.
God!
Hey! Hey!
What's going on? Joker wants to race. All right, come on, let's go.
Put your window down!
He wants something. He's probably drunk.
You're going the wrong way!
What?
You're going the wrong way!
We're going. Yeah, how did he know? Thank you.
You're going in the wrong direction! You're going to kill somebody! You're going the wrong way!
What is it?
We're going to be using aliases our next job to relate to each other by your Christian names. And I don't want any talk about yourself personally. That includes where you've been, your wife's name, where you might have done time, or a bank maybe you're robbing. Here are your names. Mr. Brown, Mr. White, Mr. Orange, Mr. Blue, and Mr. Pink.
Why am I Mr. Pink?
Because you're a faggot, all right?
Why can't we pick our own colors?
No way. Tried it once, doesn't work. You have 4 guys all fighting over who's going to be Mr. Black, but they don't know each other, so nobody wants to back down. No way, I pick. You're Mr. Pink. Be thankful you're not Mr. Yellow.
Yeah, but Mr. Brown is a little too close to Mr. Shit.
Mr. Pink sounds like Mr. Pussy. How about if I'm Mr. Purple? That sounds good to me. I'll be Mr. Purple.
You're not Mr. Purple. Some guy on another job is Mr. Purple. You're Mr. Pink.
Who cares what your name is?
Yeah, that's easy for you to say. You're Mr. White. You have a cool-sounding name. All right, look, if it's no big deal to be Mr. Pink, you want to trade?
Hey, nobody's trading with anybody. This ain't a goddamn fucking city council meeting, you know? Now listen up, Mr. Pink. There's 2 ways you can go on this job. My way or the highway. Now what's it gonna be, Mr. Pink?
Jesus Christ, Dennis. Fucking forget about it. It's beneath me, you know? I'm Mr. Pink. Let's move on.
I'll move on when I feel like it.
Woo, gotcha.
Hey, come on. Let's go, Captain Lindfors. Try again. Hey, everybody. Is there a window open? I feel a draft. Ah. Wanted a kiss and call your mother. Oh, that was a good one.
Hey, prehistoric forest.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Andy. I shouldn't have called the apple fritter a donut.
Really? What changed your mind?
Well, might have been that 2x4 you hit me with out there. Hurts here, a little bit here, but mostly here.
Yeah, well, Miss, are apple fritters donuts?
Absolutely.
I knew it. Yeah, well, anyways, I'll have a waffle.
Well, hello, everybody. It is Wednesday afternoon, a beautiful Wednesday, nice and sunny outside, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So you know what that means. It is the Dennis and Andy Show. Hello.
And welcome to Wednesday, new comic book day. We both ran down to our local comic shop, picked up smallest week I've probably had in months and months. Wow, it was surprisingly, but Juiceman too did arrive,
Which I did not see, but if it's a small week for him, you know what that means for me? Zero. Big fat effing zero. I bought nothing. Nothing. He came over. He's like, what about Juiceman too? I'm like, store didn't have it. So might run over to another one after the show. So it could go from nothing to one book. And that's it. Pretty depressing, but that's okay. It happens.
It is. You have to get a small week every once in a while. It is the end of the month. Maybe it was that fifth odd week. Not sure, but it happens.
It does. Okay. And I was at GalaxyCon over the weekend with my daughter and picked up a few trade paperbacks and stuff. GalaxyCon, I'm going to have a serious talk with my daughter and be like, look, I know you like getting autographs and meeting some of the celebrities. I'm a comic book guy. The show has like 3 comic book dealers and 1 dealer that is all trade paperbacks and hardcovers. That's it. Other than that, it's like swords here, Funko Pops here, action figures there. You know, I'm just like, for me, it's just not worth it for the amount it costs to go to that show. So it's not for another year. So I'm going to try and pull that one off the list because it is not worth it.
Yeah, comic book people. We love comic stuff, and they did ask, do you want to go? I'm like, no, I've got my nephew for the week anyway, for 4 days. And I was like, nope, that is not what I need to go to.
He didn't even want to go see Shatner again. He's like, I've met William Shatner. Don't need to meet the guy again. I'm like, whatever. William told me he's your best buddy, and he missed you. Not sure.
Oh, I bet he did.
No, he did.
And then I went, oh, live long and prosper.
That's right. Randy Howell's in the house. Hello, Randy. Richard Stonke's in the house saying,
start the show. Wow, he's a little impatient today. Look at that.
It's not your show, Rich.
Look at NPC Oasis, first in the house.
That's right.
399 LOL.
That's right. We know what that refers to. Torchbearer Studios is in the house. This is a little confusing. What bonus DNA show?
No, this is normal
DNA show because we're live. Anything else that pops during the week? I think maybe he's talking. When did you put that EC book review up?
I put that up last night. So, but that was not live. That was not live. It was a recorded one. It was. I did a full review, flip through of Volume 1 of the EC. They did in 1982. They did a hardcover reprint. It's in a nice slipcase of the science fiction and fantasy title that they had done, issues 23 through 29. Very cool. It's a great product. So I did put out the review for that. And of course, we did see Deadpool Wolverine, and we popped that last Thursday. That was the only other thing they made.
Oh,
no, we popped it Thursday night.
Right. Thursday night.
Because you were leaving for GalaxyCon.
That's right.
And you guys, we gave it a thumbs up, but you need to watch the entire review too.
That's right.
Our thoughts, our total spoiler-free thoughts.
Even though we saved next week for the end of the show, next week we have a guest, Christian Blatt of the Blatt Cast. We've been on his show. He's been on ours. He's a big pop culture guy with his podcast. He's coming back on next week, and we're going to do a deep dive into Deadpool Wolverine spoilers and everything.
Yeah,
that is 1 week from today. But let's move on and I don't even think that's you guys in those videos. It is us, Rich.
Yeah, Rich.
I'm drawing over here and need you guys to entertain me while I doodle. Okay, well, we'll do our best. Torchbearer says, I just got back from vacation in Canada. My days are still messed up. Well, it's Canada. That'll do it to you. So without further ado, we're going to bring in our guest. He is the creator of this book, Juiceman. We're going to find out what it's all about. I told Dennis about it, and he's like, I remember being on the juice when I played football in high school. And I said, I don't think it's that kind of juice, Dennis. And that is why you have small testicles now. So maybe you should never shot up on the juice. big guy. It's a good thing you were even able to squirt 2 kids out of those little babies you got down there. The only reason I know that is because during one time we shared a hotel room, he thought I was sleeping and thought it'd be fine to walk around the room naked.
Oh, those are not pillows.
No, they're not. They're more like little peanuts. So without further ado, Scott James, hello.
What a way to bring you in.
Hey, wow. How do you come in on that one?
Very easily. This is how the show goes. Dennis and I go back at it like an old married couple. We don't have sex and we argue all the time.
At least you don't have to worry about Dennis teabagging anybody.
No, I've had a fly land on my forehead and I was like, get your nuts off me. And I was like, oh, wait, that was a fly.
And you know, this is how the show typically goes. Everybody knows. Is Andy AI this week? No, because the AI Andy could not talk the way this Andy talks. Only this does he make up such perverted stuff off the top of his head, just like that.
Hey, he said he had to go in. Exactly. Torchbearer says, you seem to know a lot about Dennis's testicles. Hey, he said he was going in for a hernia check, and I said, give me the copay. I'll grab him, and you cough, and I'll let you know. And I did grab him like this with tweezers, and he coughed, and I said, yeah, sounds good. Give me $50. That's the copay.
All right, Mr. Micrometer.
Saved them a trip to the doctor's office. Anyhow, let's get on with the show.
Something to deal with comic books for once.
I would hope so, Dennis. You and your
This is where we go.
Every time.
Look, we just lost 12 people. They were like, oh, Andy's at it again.
Nope. The number keeps climbing. So anyhow, Scott, welcome to the show. We will talk about Juiceman and how you got.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, man. Like I said, before we start off with our usual questions and stuff, you know, I think I saw, so we're connected on Facebook. You know, now we're finally meeting and stuff. And I remember scrolling through and seeing this and going, what's this all about? And just going, that's my type of book. I love the style. So, you know, I went and backed it. And then I also saw it was 6 was the latest one. Mutual friend, Jeff Johnson, pitched in some. That was number 6, wasn't it?
Yeah. I happened to be corresponding with Jeff back and forth, and I said, well, would you be interested in doing some Juiceman pages? And, you know, he was like, yeah. And I was blown away that he was even interested in it. He seemed to dig the story and the style and the characters, and he lended his skills to actually a total of 7 pages.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
He penciled them and I inked them. So,
oh, that's cool. Did you blue line them, or did you actually ink on originals? Or
no, he sent me the scans. I shot him to blue line, and then he sent me the originals. So I've got my inks, and then I've got the pencils as well.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I love Jeff's stuff. So
he's phenomenal. I loved him on Wonder Man back in the day.
Yeah, that's when we first met. He was doing that, and I was working on Quasar at the time. So, yeah, that's cool, man. All right, well, let's tee it up.
Bam! So, since your first time on the DNA show, we always like to get, you know, in touch with people's origin stories. So, for starters, do you remember the first comic book that you either bought or that somebody gave you when you were younger?
Well, back many moons ago, it was probably 89-ish, 1989 for the youngins. I was in art class, and Brian Bailey, because I lived in a small town, we didn't have a comic. There was no real comic book stores. Occasionally, you would have your grocery store with a spinner rack.
Oh yeah,
but nowhere did I have one of those in the small town I grew up in. So he had a subscription to Marvel, and he was in art class, and he turned around and he goes, Scott, you're going to love this. Check this out. And he slammed down a Mark Silvestri Uncanny X-Men. It was
nice.
back when Colossus was living in the loft. I can't remember the issue number offhand, but it was Silvestri X-Men. And from that point on, the remainder of my junior year and senior year, it was like he was my comic crack dealer. because there was no comic shops.
Sure.
Finally, one opened up in DeKalb, the next largest town over, called Northern Lights Bookstore, and I would buy 2 copies, a reader copy, because you could afford it then. They were $1 each. I would buy a reader copy and one to bag and tag.
Really? Do you still have those?
Yeah.
Do you have both?
The reader copies have kind of gone way of the dodo because they've been used in abuse. Because I like to dissect. So, I like to look at the storytelling and the lighting and how things, how they move the story from panel to panel, panel arrangements. And then with 4 kids, they the reader issues get shredded.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's good to hear you say that, because I often joke with, the price of comics now. I usually say, they're, let's say $3.99, $4.99, whatever. I go, it sucks, but because I'm not just reading it, because most of the stuff I buy is because of the artwork. It'll take me with a standard, 22-page story in a 32-page book. It'll take me a good half hour or more to go through it, because I'm dissecting it, trying to, peel like the onion apart on how the artist did it and try to get inside their head. So, like my daughter, she buys comics too, and she doesn't do any of that. She just reads them, and she'll read one, and it's like 10 minutes, and I'm like, "You're done?" She goes, "Yeah." "Why does it take you so long?" And I'm like, "Because I'm actually looking at the stuff and looking at the pretty pictures."
Every line, can I read the story without the words?
Yes.
Is it good panel to panel storytelling? I don't buy comics for the story per se. I buy it for the artist, because I want to dissect it. I want to see what they were, and later on what I can steal. And I love that down shot. Ooh,
sure.
It's like the Wallywood 22 panels that always work. I want to add to that repertoire. Add other panels that I know will work. Pretty consistently.
That's cool. So then, so you went to, high school, whatever. Did you go to art school? What was the?
I went to NIU, which is in DeKalb, Northern Illinois University. I wanted to go to the Kubert School, but my dad, as supportive as my parents were, they wanted a 4-year degree because, it's trade school. That you've got to have a college degree. Yeah. My only saving grace with going to NIU when I went to NIU is they were in the top, I think, 5 in the nation for illustration program. I studied under Mark A. Nelson from Aliens fame, and he was my instructor back in the 90s. I graduated in 95 from NIU, and I went right into RPG work and CCG work. So,
that's cool.
That is cool. Mark Nelson was, he was putting out all of our own competition, because if you look at anybody that was in the RPG or CCG game, role-playing game or collectible card game, they were all coming from NIU, or they were NIU alumni.
Mark's awesome. We're not only friends with Mark, he even showed up to Heroes here. He was selling some of his, he still has some of his Magic cards that he had done. And I looked through, he still had a few original art pieces from like Monster Manuals, stuff like that. Going through it, he did a bunch of the artwork for the Choose Your Own Adventure books and stuff. And, now I think he just did Thunder Hunter, I think was his current one.
Yeah, I just saw him he was at, Graham Crackers in DeKalb. I met up with them, and it was like a big class reunion of the different classes that went through NIU and had Mark.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's funny. Small world. Yeah. Mark's a good guy. His stuff is just.
I always refer to him as Yoda.
Yeah. God, he knows everything too. He's a blast just to sit down and talk to. I left him at the booth solo for a while, and Mark goes, "Just have a seat." So I went back, and we just sat literally for a couple hours, and we were just chatting about, how things used to work, in the RPG, because I'm a big D&D guy all the way back to the original. We're all about the same age here, So, I've been playing D&D since the early, mid 80s and stuff like that, different role-playing games. And God, Mark's just a treasure trove of knowledge.
Oh, and he put out so many of us gaming art, because I've done stuff for TSR. I've done stuff for when there was a FASA, a BattleTech, Shadowrun, all of those RPGs and CCGs, L5R. So he was literally putting out all of our, there was one or two, maybe even more FASA books that came out that were all NIU alumni.
Really?
So, yeah.
Holy crap, that's cool.
Yeah.
And was the stuff you were doing, were you doing full color stuff, or was it black and white?
I was doing mix. I was doing black and white. A lot of the RPGs were black and white.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
You did BattleTech, you said?
Yep.
See, I love playing that. Just did you do Starfleet Battles?
Did not do Starfleet Battles. BattleTech, Earth Dawn, Shadowrun for FASA. Stuff for White Wolf. Did Deadlands stuff. D&D. Legends of Five Rings, Seventh Sea for Alderac.
Legends of Five Rings, love it.
So, yeah.
So then how did you go from doing that stuff to getting into comics? And what was the first comic stuff you did?
God. Right out of college, I went to, it was back before Wizard bought it and destroyed it, the Chicago Comic-Con.
Yep.
Before Wizard. BW, before Wizard.
I went to it a few times before Wizard.
And it was an awesome show. Wizard killed it.
Yes.
But I went there, and my first comic was for a small, locally owned company, and it was called the Black Arrow. And very small press. It was very bad. And there's a few times at shows that thing will rear its ugly head at me, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I remember this.
Happens to all of us.
Everybody has that first job.
Oh yeah.
Then I had created Juiceman back when I was in college, and I had done a couple issues of that. So I went around the self-publishing route before shelving it for a few years, just because I was doing so much gaming work. But I at the Motor City show happened to be there. I met Eric Larson. And I showed him my portfolio, and started out with doing a really subpar pinup in issue 66 of Savage Dragon, which I got the fin horribly wrong, which then led to me doing a lot of backup stories for him.
Right. That's where I remember seeing your name first, was in that stuff, because I was getting it back then. Okay.
I've done stuff for Hasbro because I had also met Dion Knuckles, who was art director at Hasbro, and he really loved the Juiceman stuff I was doing, and I got hired to work on the movie Small Soldiers and Small Soldiers 2, doing concept designs.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I did a lot more for Small Soldiers 2 than the first one. I came in kind of late on Small Soldiers, but in Small Soldiers 2, I was doing a crap load of the Army guys. And that was back.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I know. That's really cool.
Yeah. So I did Army guys in Small Soldiers 1 and Small Soldiers 2. And that was back when you have to fax it. There was no email.
Right.
So I would get like my assignment in the morning, I need 20 Army guys. And so I'd draw my 20 Army guys, and I'd fax them over first thing in the morning. And, I then got the call that we were no longer doing Small Soldiers 2 because Phil Hartman was killed by his wife, Bryn. So that's
no way.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew that, but
yeah, but
it was, if you would have asked me if Small Soldiers 2 ever came out, I couldn't tell you either way. It
never did, because the center point, he was the main, because he had made such a memorable mark in the first one as the neighbor.
Right.
The whole second movie was around his character.
Oh.
So when we were in the middle of pre-production, and it was they were doing all the concept designs. And what concept design is they take my drawings and they get concept drawings from everybody, and then the way it was explained to me is they lay it all out on a big table, and they start to circle what parts of each person's drawings they like. And then they basically Frankenstein it together. They have their in-house artists take the parts that they like from each one and create one character. So during Small Soldiers, it was kind of cool, but I was able to see, oh, that was my pouch, or oh, that was my.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So there were no character really was all me, but there were parts.
Right.
Yeah.
That I saw that, oh, that's the way I did my pouches, or that's the knee pads I gave, or that's the brow I gave that character.
Oh, so, that's cool.
Yeah, I was actually just sitting there going, "There's a Small Soldiers too."
I know.
I don't remember that. I says, "I love that stuff," and that's why.
That's why. I've had like brushes of, it's like, oh, I was right there. Another one was I was doing posters for Marvel UK for Spider-Man Enter the Dark, the Broadway.
Oh, right.
Then, yeah.
Oh, and
so
then the guy fell.
All these awesome posters of him swinging through, London, with Big Ben behind him and all of this. And then I get the call that, all the posters we were going to have you do, we're done. They closed down the musical because they can't insure it anymore because the cables were snapping, launching Spider-Man into the.
Yeah. Nobody died, but a guy got hurt bad.
Really bad.
And
audience members were getting hurt too. So. Yeah, so liability, and they had Bono and the Edge writing the score. So it was like I was like, yeah, this is so cool. I'm a part of. Oh, it's done. Okay, well,
wow. Torchbearer says, I remember Scott's work on Small Soldiers. We had a bunch of the concept artwork from Toy Soldiers at a toy company I worked at. See, that would make sense because that would move right over onto the toy division.
Yeah,
because I'm assuming that they made toys from the stuff.
Yeah, well, and I did a lot of work for Hasbro there for a while. Like there was a Fox animated cartoon called Action Man.
Oh, okay.
It was all computer generated, but they used concept artists. And it was back when I had an answering machine, and I wish I still had the tape, but it was one of the coolest calls I got. Dion Knuckles called me and said, hey, I just wanted to congratulate you. They're using your design, because with it being CGI, I only had to draw the heads. So I got paid a flat rate to draw all these heads.
Yep.
And for all these characters. And he goes, yeah, we're going to use your design for the main head of Alex, the Action Man, the main character. So congratulations. This is a great thing. And I was like, yeah, that's totally awesome. I designed the look of Action Man, the face of Action Man. And then I walk into Toys R Us back when there was Toys R Us, and it was like Action Man on a paraglider, Action Man on a snowmobile, Action Man in a tutu, Action Man. They had a million Action Men, and I'm like looking and going, oh, okay, they made a pretty penny off of that design. But I also
because it was your stuff on all of it.
It was my design of my. I designed the face. It was like a Ken doll body, but then it was a 3D sculpt of my design for the head because it was a big Fox cartoon.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, Alex Action Man, and I did the math, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I kind of got screwed on that one," but.
Well, that's what Prater's asking is, do they pay you for the use of your head? Hope so.
No.
Well, the thing is I got paid a flat rate because there was designs that they didn't use that I got paid for. So
sure.
And that's the way concept design worked. It would have been nice if I got a little residual, but no, it was flat rate.
Yeah. You got a feather in your cap.
And I could say I designed the look of that Action Man in a tutu and on a snowboard.
And they'll go prove it. Well, damn it, no check stubs. No. That's still, all that is really just cool to be able to have done all that stuff leading up to. When did you start with? Because like I was saying, I jumped on Juiceman with issue 6 when I saw it. So when did one officially come out of this new series then?
Oh gosh, out of the new series, one came out a few years ago. Just because I also teach middle school art, so I kind of balance both. So it's probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, maybe a little longer, that issue 1 came out. And issue 1 was a larger issue, and I reinvented it. Because I had published 2 under Infinite Dreams Presents, 2 issues of Juiceman that I had done back when I was in college.
Okay.
Or at the end of college, beginning of my comic book, or wanting to move into comics, out of gaming into comics. I had taken the characters that I created when I was in college and used it as my sketchbook, where I would come up with the stories and then, practice my panel to panel storytelling. Sure. And at that time I was working as Ron Wagner's assistant in his,
oh, cool.
Yeah, I'd taken a couple classes. He was doing a local comic book workshop at a art store, and I befriended him, and there for about 1.5 years, I was, is basically a studio monkey, making his copies. There's a couple things that I got to put ink on, like spotting blacks and whatnot. But I was fortunate enough. I learned a lot working with him, and he'll tell to people, he goes, "You learned a lot of what not to do." And I go, "It's still learning," but just a great guy, and I learned a lot, watching him draw, how he handles a page. Yeah, and I just started. I basically dusted the cobwebs off of Juiceman like 3 or 4 years ago. I reused in that first issue. I reused some of my older pages, which were 25 plus years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, there was some stuff I was like, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let me, I knew that the first issue was going to be, some quasi origin story. But there were some beats of the story that I wanted to keep, and I looked at it and I was like, okay, these pages are, I could redraw them, but they serve the purpose. They tell the story. They're not, wretched. So I kept a couple of the original pages, redrew some of it, changed some of the opening sequences, added like the whole back half. So it was a interesting process trying to keep some of the pages, but yet tell a better story.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it does.
Randy's saying, I believe the Juiceman trade paperback is available via Marcosia on Amazon and other sites.
Yeah, you can get it at Barnes & Noble, order it on Barnes & Noble. You can get it through Walmart on Walmart.com.
Oh, cool.
And yeah. So.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even notice. You do have an ISBN. I didn't even notice. So
yeah, that's I did some work for Marcosia. I did Starship Troopers, 2 issues of Starship Troopers for Marcosia.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then I did a creator-owned book that I did with co-created with Cy Defon, which was the Case Files of Harlan Falk, and that went to Marcosia. And then I contacted Harry and said, I'm interested in having you guys publish Juiceman, but I don't want to give up any of the property.
Right.
So he was like, okay, we can work something out. And we did. And right now they're currently publishing Marcosia doesn't want to deal with the floppies anymore or the individual issues. So I just do those myself. And because to me, I like having the individual issues.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just nostalgia. Maybe it's...
No, dude, I agree. That's why, I was glad I was able to get the trade. And then, moving forward, I'll just, obviously, when you do a new Kickstarter, back the single. What, Do you work traditionally, or is it digital? How you working?
I work traditionally. I still do layouts. I'll lay out a page because that, to me, that's getting my ideas down. I was pen pals with Alex Toth for the last 3 years of his life, and
No way.
Yeah,
dude, that is so cool. Another guy of artist that we know, a guy named Paul Ravoche, who he was basically pen pals with Alex since the 80s.
Yeah, I'm not that long. I wish I would have started sooner. And I mean, how
the hell did that even come about?
I bought a postcard off of eBay with his address on it, and then I just wrote him a letter.
Really? And he wrote you back, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got one of the last drawings he did before he passed. He sent it to me, I think, in November. He passed the next May. Late November, he sent me a picture of Zatanna.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. And a 6x9 sheet folded in an envelope.
And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So then I sent him back, Charlie, he was in an assisted living facility at that time.
Uh-huh.
And I knew he liked Charlie Chaplin, Charlie Chaplin. He also liked, I can't think of the name of the Asian detective. It was old black and white. Charlie Chan. Okay. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't remember.
So I got him a whole bunch of DVDs and a DVD player. And
yeah, Charlie Chan.
Charlie Chan. I thought it was Charlie Chan. Charlie Chaplin and Charlie Chan, and got him some old, videos on DVD and a DVD player, because I know he didn't have one. And I sent it to him, and my last postcard was late December from him, and I noticed a decline in the handwriting. It was a lot shakier, and
really?
Yeah, and it said, "Too much is too much is too much. You flood me with these gifts, no more." And that was the last postcard I got from him. But in that 3 years, I pissed him off, and he would get mad at me, and then I'd get, a couple weeks later, I'd get "Hey, how are you doing, old boy?" And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, apparently we're talking again."
I mean, I've never met him, never talked to him, but from the people I know that did, you're now the third person. He was cantankerous that way.
But I wouldn't have it any other way, because there's things that he said about my work. There was things that he liked, and there was things he didn't like. And being an educator, I always self-reflect, and I reflect on what he said. And he kept telling me, think more, draw less. If you think more, you innately draw less.
Right.
So I'm constantly thinking about what beats I want to tell in a story, where I want to go on a page. So I'm always doing thumbnails, and I'll just I'll do thumbnails, and then I'll enlarge them. And I work my pages, for speed's sake, I work actual comic book size.
Oh, do you? That's cool. Yeah, well, I mean, the thing I like about your style is, it's exaggerated, it's cartoony, but just from looking at it, I wouldn't be able to tell that, and I think it works. So, and that's what matters the most in this day and age. Plus, with scanning, back in the day, you had to work larger because of the reduction and everything. Stuff would close up, but you knew that when you were drawing the pages at the larger size. So you would almost, I know when I started, it was before scanning and all that crap. And I would take into account, okay, this is going to close up like this. And you work that way. And I did a few things. I think it was in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s, print size. And it just wasn't for me. That was just too small. But I mean, now I work on 11 by 14 paper. So not 11 by 17, but 11 by 14.
Yeah.
So it's a little shorter, but it's still bigger, obviously, than print size.
Well, and what I do is I scan it in and then pixel fuck it. I'll just mess around and tweak things. And you can go down that rabbit hole. There's things that you can do digitally that once it prints, you lose all of that detail anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So, in talking with Eric Larson, when he did a couple issues that were all digital, and he's like, I totally lost line. When you blow it up, you can see all this detail, but when you look at it in the printed page, you don't see all the detail that's actually there. It just disappears. So, and that's what I found even when I scan stuff in and tweak it in Photoshop. It's like, okay, yeah, it was kind of a moot point. It's lost. It's lost anyways. So I find that also working actual size, the economy of line, it really helps you determine what lines are important and what's not. So it helps in that simplification process.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense. I did one job. I didn't do the whole thing digital, but I did a couple pages. And it's true. I remember working on this one face or head, and I would blow it up and work on it. And then, as a test, I would print it out, print size, on my home printer and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, why did I do that? Because the head print size was like not even an inch big.
Yeah.
But I was working on it seriously. Like I'd blow it up like 5-6 inches big, and it's just pointless.
Well, you could get lost in all that detail because you're thinking you're doing it to that screen size.
Right.
And then print size. So, you're doing all this elaborate stuff for background figures that no one's going to see. But know those lines are there.
Oh, no. Well, it's funny, talking about Alex Toth real quick. Some of his stuff that is my favorite is the Zorro stuff that he did. And you want to talk about simple, but I mean, it's all there. It's gorgeous stuff. I mean, I'm a huge Toth fan. I've got there's not a lot of books about him, so I probably have them all. I mean, I've got that. Do you have By Design, the one that they had to? Yep.
Yep, the one that was recalled that is harder than hell to get. Yep, I've got By Design. I actually own model sheets.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Which ones?
I've got mainly from C-Lab 2020, and in my correspondence, my correspondence with Alex, that's the only thing that he did for Hanna-Barbera that he liked because he had free reign and he could do whatever he wanted.
Were those things 8.5 by 11?
Yep.
That's what I thought just by looking at them. I love those models.
He started out doing, and this is where I really learned about economy of line is through my correspondence with Alex, is that he had to draw so that things were readable on a TV screen.
Right.
So he was doing elaborate model sheets and they were being butchered by the animators down in Australia. So he was like, well, if they're going to remove my lines, they don't know which ones are the best ones to remove. So I'm going to simplify my model sheets. I'm going to make it to where, basically animation for dummies, they know exactly what lines to keep and which ones they can lose because they were taking off lines that were important and keeping lines that weren't. So, he really taught me how to look at the economy of line and what lines are important, where blacks are best spotted. When I look at Juiceman, I'm trying to picture it as an animated, how it would be as if it was a cartoon on Netflix or, just with that style.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. I see, one of the things I like about Juiceman is you can definitely tell that you're a fan of Larson's work looking through it.
Yeah.
Was that a real conscious thing? Like, did you move that way or was your stuff always, because, he's been around, Savage Dragon's been around since obviously 92. So
I was doing such photorealistic stuff when I was doing gaming work for D&D.
Oh, yeah.
That I found it quite refreshing to do more cartoony. And the thing is when I created Juiceman, it was when I was in college and I would watch, back in the 90s, there was a thing where guys they skipped leg day quite regularly. So I'd watch these guys come out of the student union. Well, that's why they're the size of Tic Tacs right now.
Right.
I'd see guys coming out with these big buff upper bodies and these little legs just as they walk, and you just
Close to home for you, isn't it, big guy?
Don't have any idea what you're talking about.
and I would refer to him as, oh, look, there goes another Juiceman. You know, there goes another Juiceman.
So I was going to ask how you came up with the concept. So
that's how I came up with the concept. So I started filling my sketchbook with these big upper bodies and little twiggy legs, and I'd refer to him as my Juiceman. Oh, look, it's Scotch Drawn Juiceman again.
That's hilarious. Well, I think that kind of goes back to not animation in regards to like the superhero stuff Toth was doing, because that was pseudo realistic, but the more exaggerated, really cartoony stuff was always the big upper body and the tiny little legs on the characters.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff. I thought that stuff was great.
Strong Johnny Bravo was that way as well.
Johnny Bravo. Yeah.
So for me, it was like I drawn them, and everybody in my art class was getting a kick out of them. And they were like, oh, you should come up with it. And they knew I was a big comic book fan. They were like, you should make a comic strip or comic book.
Yeah.
So that's where I started to create these other characters, this ensemble. And then I came up with the origin. I'm like, God, he's got to have a reason why his legs are smaller besides skipping leg day. So I made him. He was a paraplegic and he was in a wheelchair.
Right.
And due to the severe atrophy of being in the wheelchair, his lower body didn't grow in the same proportion as his upper body when he injected himself with the super serum. Yeah. So that's why you've got such that different visual from upper body to lower body.
Yeah.
You know, so, but that's kind of how Juiceman came about, was me just watching the world around me. Well, of course, we didn't have cell phones to distract ourselves with. So, you know, boredom is what spurs creativity.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And unfortunately, this generation isn't bored. So, you know, it can go on a whole different conversation with that. But, you know, I was just observing the world around me, and I saw what I thought was visually amusing. And these guys that would skip leg day, and I would go to parties, and I would see him hitting on these girls at these parties, and just it struck a chord, and it made me giggle. And they were my muse, apparently.
How do you go about writing your stuff? Do you actually write a script, or do you just draw it out while you're doing thumbnails?
I draw it out. I have a starting point, kind of a midpoint, and an end point. And I know I want to hit the 3 beats. And then how I get there is determined on how I lay out the page.
Okay. So there's no actual writing a Word document and stuff.
Nope. I don't write a word until I go to script it after I've drawn all the pages. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's, you know, and I try to write in 3 to 4 page increments, almost like a superhero soap opera. You know, I want to change the scene because that keeps the interest of the reader. At least I hope. No,
I think so. I just got done reading a book that Dynamite put out about Howard Chaykin. I mean, the book's like 10 years old, but I just got it. So new to me. Yeah. And, you know, they asked him his writing process, and I'm assuming it's the same way still, because he said that he's been doing it that way forever back then. But he says he basically takes out 22, you know, if it's a 22-page story, 22 index cards, and then just writes down on each index card what's supposed to happen on that page. And then before he gets any deeper into it, because he's got the index cards, he can shuffle them around, the scenes around. And he said he got that idea from when he was doing TV stuff, because, I mean, if you see behind the scenes when it comes to writing TV stuff, you'll see Post-its all over the place, because they'll, you know, take this Post-it, move the story beat here, and vice versa. And he's just like, yeah, I just found that the best way to go. And then after he does that, he can, you know, break the page down into panels and stuff.
Well, and that's where
I thought that was just interesting.
Well, and that's where I find if I do the 3 to 4, maybe 5-page chunks, I can move, and I'll even do single pages, you know, 1 page here, you know, maybe 2 characters are sitting in a cafe talking. Yeah, okay, well, I can move that to change the pace of the story. The one thing that, another thing I learned from Alex Toth is you've got to have those downbeats. You've got to have those pedestrian scenes to give the reader time to breathe between action. You know, if everything's in your face, action, 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 you don't give a pause or a time for them to breathe and help move. And those it gives you time to work on telling a different part or progress the story. You know, because if it's a slugfest 24/7, it's kind of hard to do exposition in, you know, a slobber knocker of a fight scene. So you need those downbeats or those, you know, pedestrian moments to help move the story along as well.
Yeah. So here's an Alex Toth story. I don't know if you've ever heard this one. This goes back into either the 60s or 70s. Joe Kubert was the editor on the war books at DC.
Yeah.
And he had just a short story, you know, whatever, 8-10 pages, whatever, in the book he needed done. And he gave it to Alex. And I don't know I think Bob Kanigher wrote it. I don't think Joe wrote it. And I think he might have told Alex, look, don't stray away from the story. Just draw the way it's written.
Exactly what he said. And Toth did his own thing. And Joe was like, he couldn't use it. He did not use it. He didn't use it. And that really killed the kind of relationship between the two. I mean, because both off. Toth gave him a beautiful story.
I wish I could have seen it.
Yeah. I wish I could, but from what I've heard, it was a phenomenal dog fight.
I imagine it was, but he basically rewrote it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's tough because being an artist, you know, you can kind of see both points of view from it, you know, but at the same time, I would have to lean more towards with, I think, Joe, because it's like, you know, if the editor's giving you a job to do, he expects that script, that story turned back in.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. There's times that I've gotten, how do I say this more diplomatically than I've gotten things from writers where they throw everything in exposition, like down to, you know, the camera angle where they're contradicting themselves.
Oh, right. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, you don't know what you want. Right. And you're making it more laborious for me because you're telling me you want me to shoot over the character's shoulder, but you want to see the expression on their face at the same time.
Right.
You know, it's you know, it's like, okay, you're asking for a miracle here, you know.
Yeah.
And that's in the same panel. They have it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about.
They're married to their written word. And that's where I like, you know, how Eric Larson writes. Like, I'll do a 6-page backup for him. I get 6 spaces. There's times that I've gotten a paragraph, 6 sentences.
Oh, he actually writes stuff out now, because when I did Deadly Duo back in the day, he worked like Keith Giffen, where he gave drawn layouts.
Yeah, no, he didn't. Very rarely did I get it. And occasionally he would show me kind of, well, this is kind of what I'm thinking for this page.
Oh, okay.
But that was I've done like 6 or 8, maybe 10 backups for him. And he'll just send me a paragraph, and it's like each sentence is a page. And I'm like, okay, I got room to play.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, there's times that I'm like I wish you would, you know, give me a little bit more, because I want to make sure I'm giving you what you want.
Right. Sure.
But,
sure.
You know, sometimes you can have it, you know, the extreme on either end. Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a happy medium, but at the same time, if that's all you're getting, then whoever wrote it, if that's how they write, they can't complain when they get it back.
Exactly.
You know,
well, and you know, I guess I would prefer to have less, because it gives me more to play with.
Right.
And it's like Ron Wagner always used to tell me it's the little bits of business over here. You can put little bits of business in the background. If you've got breathing room, you can do little things. I remember in Daredevil, when he was working on Daredevil, I was in his studio, and there was a bit that he did that I think J.M. DeMathis, if I'm saying his name right, was writing it. And everything was in the rain. Mm-hmm. Everything was moody in the rain. And, and I think it irritated Ron a little bit, but there was a bit of business where Ron, and it was all Ron, it wasn't in the script, anything, but there was enough breathing room where Ron could be Ron. And he did a bit of business where these cops, their character Sir had toppled these crates on top of Daredevil, and there was blood, and the cops were there investigating. Well, he has in the background a cop with an umbrella trying to keep the crime scene dry.
Oh, that's cool.
And he's doing, and another cop is directing him on trying to keep, because the rain is coming into the skylight that they crash through. And it's this little bit of, it's almost like a Charlie Chaplin kind of little bit of business that's happening in the background. If the writer doesn't give that breathing room, you don't get that creativity. You don't get that little bit of business, that extra character development for these background characters, which could be entertaining or add to the story.
Sure. No, so I had Ron as a substitute in the Kubert school, and then for one class, and then in 2000, 2001, somewhere around there, when I was working at CrossGen in Florida, he was doing some stuff for us, and they flew him down, and he was only going to be in town for like, I don't know, a week, something like that. And he crashed at my place for the time while he was, coming into CrossGen and stuff. So yeah, I've always liked Ron's stuff. Just really energetic.
You could talk to Ron is always, I wouldn't need the copious amounts of coffee if I had the energy that man has.
Right. That's how he is. I have not talked to him in 20 years since then, but I know exactly what you mean.
And he always described it as the William Shatner school of overacting. That was, I use that phrase, and that's what, it's not mine. That's what when he would tell me, Scotty, you got to do William Shatner school. You got to be able to make it big so that the people in the back seats, if Shatner's on stage, he's overacting. It's so that the people in the back can see what's going on. You want that over dramatic acting when you're doing comic books to help tell that story.
That's really, you could draw that down to just How to Draw Comics the Marvel way. You know what I mean? You've got the guy, it's that classic drawing that Buscema does in the book of the different actions of a guy punching, and it's like, this is weak, better, best, and and that's what it is, and that's what a lot of comics these days I think lack, because it's almost the antithesis of How to Draw Comics the Marvel way. It's like, oh, this guy's getting punched, and you can go, oh yeah, and that dude looked at a photo for the guy punching because he's standing straight up and down as he's punching, which might be real in a boxing match, but in comics it's boring.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm finding it harder to find artists that I like and pick up. And I don't know if you're finding it's.
Oh yeah, dude. I used to buy. I never went crazy every week, but I'd buy 5-6 comics a week, because of the art and stuff. But a lot of the guguys I like aren't doing stuff anymore.
There was different
or
styles.
not as regularly.
Everybody the pendulum has shifted. You'd have the Kubert or the Kirby, and then you'd have, Silvestri or Lee. You'd have balance. Now everybody draws the same. Yeah, there's no delineation between different styles. You might get a Herberto Ramos or a Chris Baccello.
Sure.
You don't have, At least I feel. I could be wrong, but again,
I mean, you look at a lot of what Marvel and DC put out, and it's definitely more of the sameness than it has been. You know,
it comes across to me milk toast.
It is. I went from $150 a week down to probably 40 to 60, depending on the week.
Dude, that's your crack habit. We're not talking about crack.
All independent stuff. I don't even do Marvel or DC at all anymore. I dropped, and dude, I'm an X-Men guy. I got them all. I collected them my entire life. All X titles, anything to do with X-Men. It's unreadable. It's on. I would say watchable because I don't even like the art in most of it anymore. It's boring, and they've completely destroyed all the characters that I grew up and loved. So I do all independent stuff now, small press stuff, and crowdfunding. That's almost all my comics now.
Yeah,
I used to have from issue 100 to present date Uncanny X-Men. And I was like you. I picked up 2 of each title. I had a reader to burn through, and I had, my bag and tag. After Lee left, I stayed through Andy Kubert.
Yep.
After Andy Kubert is when I kind of stopped. And even with Andy Kubert, it was like, how fucking dusty is the X Mansion? I mean, there's clouds of dust everywhere. Because it was easy not to draw feet. I just made dust cloud.
Right.
But after Andy Kubert, it was like, okay, I'm done. I think I'm done. I'm done with the X books. I don't think Claremont was writing it anymore. The story wasn't as compelling. The characters.
The X-Men always had their ups and downs. I mean, no matter what, Claremont stuff was great. That's what I call the golden age of X-Men was really that whole time frame. And but as the years progressed in the late 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, there would be hits and misses and stuff, and you just kind of accepted that because that was comic books in general. And then it just went straight downhill and jumped off a cliff, and it's just all garbage. I don't even get any of it. They're like, oh dude, they're rebooting, and of course they do, because it's like they need a shot. Okay, we need a number 1. They're going to take the shot. They're going to get, oh, look at all these books we sold. By number 2, they lost half their audience. By issue 3, they lost half again, so they lost 75%.
Because they're going for the gimmick. They're going for the relaunch, and it's like the problem that they don't understand is that they're trying to get new readers, and they're alienating their base.
Right.
The people that have been tried. You're not going to get the kid off of the street to buy the comic book. Unfortunately, you're not. They're not interested in taking the time. Don't get me wrong. There's exceptions to all the rules.
Oh yeah.
But when they've got everything, a device in their hand, and they would rather play Fortnite than grab a comic and read.
Yep. Yeah, I think a lot of the kids that do read the stuff, it's because of their parents. My daughter reads stuff, but that's because of me.
My son does as well. Not all. I've got 4 kids, only one, but he doesn't. He reads the ones that I buy. He doesn't go out and buy his own.
Right. Well, she does, but she reads different stuff. But she's 21, so she can buy her own stuff. Damn it.
Yep.
But I mean, she's been reading comics. I don't know, probably for 5-6 years now is when she started. So. So she likes it, but I think it's the parents that are for the kids that are buying the stuff now. The parents are getting into it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Usually, the comic book geek like myself is into Star Wars, is into all of that stuff, and that's what's There's kids today that have noticed. When I was growing up, Star Wars. If you weren't a fan of Star Wars, are you weird? What's going on?
Right.
My kids grew up loving Star Wars.
Sure.
Loving the super because I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
my son read Deadpool because I was an X-Men fan, and he doesn't do comics anymore, but you know, he did. He grew up, and you know, my daughter, she saw me reading and stuff. She's manga. She loves manga. And I mean, she would read all the different titles. She's the one who got me into Attack on Titan and stuff like that. And you know, and that's just it. But it all started because I've read comics and X-Men, mostly Marvel. I way outdid, probably 10-1 over DC, but you know,
see, I'm not a big DC guy. I picked up, okay, when Capullo was doing Batman, I picked up Batman. Could I say I read it?
Yep.
No, I looked at the pretty pictures. Romita Jr., love Romita Jr.'s work.
Oh yeah.
Pick him up on Amazing Spider-Man. I couldn't tell you what the story's about. I just look at the pretty pictures because to me, it's his story Romita Jr.'s panel-to-panel storytelling is phenomenal.
Oh, it's top notch. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have to necessarily read, and to me, it's all the same.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's just it. Look at most of the stuff. I was just there today. I picked up some of the new issues, looked through it, and I'm like, nope. And I saw, oh, there was a cool Wolverine Deadpool cover, and then it was, what if Donald Duck was Wolverine? And I'm like, wow, is this really what we've resorted to? I picked it up out of morbid curiosity, looked through it, and I'm like, wow, okay. And I literally went through the whole rack, and I'm like, no, once again, nothing on Marvel or DC, and that's just the stuff. It's formulaic, and I swear to God, they fired half their staff, and they have AI writing it because it's all the same story.
It's recycled. Everything is, you know, there's nothing new, and these writers are writing themselves into the story.
Yeah, it's them in the story, pushing their viewpoints in it, and it's awful. Now, since we're talking about something new, I want to get your opinion on it. Hopefully, it pops up here.
What is it you're sharing? Because I see the blank.
Huh.
Is it actual YouTube something?
No, it's just a video, or it's just a picture.
Oh, it's just...
Oh, StreamYard, stop.
What?
Stop responding.
Let me see. Let's see what happens if I pull it up. No, it only does full screen. It does remove. It doesn't.
Oh, I'm froze.
I can't even add it to the stage. So that's weird. That's your crappy computer, Dennis. I'll just get that out of here.
Come on, Dennis.
I know. Wow. You know, he brings a computer over here, messes things up. Jesus. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with your junk. Junk, I tell you. All right, well,
pull it up.
I can't. It's not working.
Well, I actually had the big reveal. I wanted to just get your opinion. Speaking of how bad Marvel's been, they decided we had to bring back Robert Downey Jr. to play the rich, brilliant scientist stuck in an iron armor.
Dr. Doom. Oh,
I'm optimistic, and you know, if you think about it, Michael Keaton broke the internet before there was an internet when they cast him as Batman.
It's true, he did, and
he's my Batman. You know,
I agree. Michael Keaton, even the costume with the not being able to turn the head, I still love that costume.
Yeah, so he could be, well, you know, like I said before, if he could be a black man in Tropic Thunder, he could be Victor Von Doom. I mean, what they can do with prosthetics, and Doom has got a scarred face anyways.
Well, that's true, but depending on who tells the story, there's I think the way John Byrne tackled it when he did Fantastic Four is the scar was slight, but Doom was so vain that even this slight thing was like, I can never show my face again. But then it didn't matter, because if you look at those issues of Fantastic Four, when Byrne tells the origin again, the mask that he puts on is like burning hot, and he puts it on his face. So even if it was just a little scar, well, guess what? You really have to face up with that. But
and I just remember how he was drawn with the
right.
The eyes were just the skin was like bubbly. And
so I think, to your point, so when I saw the announcement, it was before I was scrolling through Facebook something, and I saw it, but I didn't see people's reactions yet, so I could get my true reaction because there wasn't anything to influence. And I was like, okay, I like Robert Downey Jr. It's Dr. Doom. You know, will we see his face? Probably, but then after that, it's always behind the mask. And then you have to think Dr. Doom, if they want, they can have him do an accent, because I mean, he's a fantastic actor.
Oh yeah.
So if he does an accent and you never see his face except maybe in like a brief origin, okay, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's again, I'm holding out, hopefully optimistic.
I'm like you. I'm very optimistic. There it is.
Yeah.
I'm super optimistic about it because I don't know
right
enough.
there, he doesn't look like Tony Stark.
No.
He doesn't look like Tony Stark there to me.
No. And part of it is, one, he shaved, but two, you know, shit, Endgame was 5 years ago. You know, he's aged.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I don't know. I do, you know, there is that part of me that, of course, like a lot of people are probably, which is there are so many good actors out there. You couldn't have gotten another actor, another A-list actor. But who knows? I don't think it's totally a publicity stunt.
No, but I also, to Dennis's point, are we then regurgitating what is, you know, recycling what was successful and hopes that we can get the Marvel back on track? You know, there's that. I can see the yin and the yang.
Yeah,
we did hear Robert Downey Jr. was throwing so much money for this role. And then this brings me to my point. So their mind is the only person, and you even heard it in the pitch, the only person we felt that could play Von Doom was Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
And I was like, you know, there are so many great actors out there.
Oh, yeah.
I said, no.
That is a strong statement. The only person, you know.
Right. And when Feige said that, I'm looking at like, okay, so you are saying right now, because, and this is why people are really upset about it, Robert Downey Jr. was the face of the Marvel Universe, the heart of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He was the emotional tie, and when he died, that was the stake through it. It was the great pinnacle moment. His face, everybody has great feelings for Robert Downey Jr. through the Marvel Cinematic Universe and will always be the face of it. Everything else, for the most part, is sucking right now. All the way through, all the Disney Plus stuff has been pretty horrible. The movies, Deadpool, Wolverine's an exception, but they have to rejuvenate it. And they're like, well, you know, we can't just do a sequel or anything. How do we bring it back? The face, the person that gave us all warm and fuzzies. We'll just have him play somebody else. You know, there are stories where, you know, Robert Downey Jr. could play Victor Von Doom, who was an alternate version. People have said it isn't going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen.
No, you don't. Not until they do it. My hope is that he is Victor Von Doom. They do something prosthetic wise to even, like I said, even that shot, he does not, to me, look like Tony Stark. But, you know, once he's behind the mask, you know,
right. And like I said, if he does an accent and once again, he's a fantastic actor, and it comes down to he can do an accent. He can carry himself differently, you know, physically carry himself differently. And these are all things that he's that good that he can do. So I'm more curious about, you know, my assumption now is he'll probably be introduced at some point in Fantastic Four next year. Because the first movie, because the Avengers Doom movie comes out in 2026. So I'm assuming that once they introduce the Fantastic Four next year, The after credit scene will include him getting to the present somehow, just like apparently
the
Fantastic Four takes place in the 60s. They already said that. Well, I'm assuming something's going to happen where they get jetted into the present day.
Yeah.
I don't
that
know.
Would be I know that he's on for 2 Avengers movies and a cameo in, I think, Fantastic Four. I think they've come out and said. I could be wrong, but that's what. So yeah, they've got to get him into the MCU somehow, and again, hopefully optimistic. Look, that he's the only one that could play Victor.
Oh no, I think I could be wrong, but one of the actors that came to mind while we were talking was Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson, he's definitely got the height.
Yeah, the only problem with Liam Neeson is his age.
Yeah. Yeah, but they could do once he's behind the mask, that doesn't matter, and anything before that,
you're right. If they
can do
Hank Pym,
what's that?
If they could de-age
Hank
Pym,
Michael Douglas.
If they could do that to Michael Douglas, they could do it to Liam Neeson. I think Liam Neeson's voice would be perfect for Doom.
Yeah. No, actually, again, when they said that, there's so many actors, I was like, oh, wow. There are so many good actors that could, but they are paying him some undisclosed but incredibly absorbent amount of money just to make appearances to drag him back in. That is what leads me to believe okay, we need him as the face because we don't know what else to do at this point.
And also it benefits him because after he left the MCU, what has he really done that has been blockbuster?
Nothing.
Yep. Nothing. So he's getting a payday, and 2, he's going someplace that's comfortable. So
I think wasn't Dr. Dolittle or just Dolittle after Endgame?
He did one of them in between, I think.
He did do so. The most memorable thing is Oppenheimer.
Sherlock. Yep. Sherlock would be the most memorable, but he did that, I believe, before.
Oh, that was before. Yeah, that was before.
So what did he did do? I think
Oppenheimer is the big thing he was in.
Yeah,
Oppenheimer. See, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, that's good.
It is really good.
He's not the starring character though. He's more of just a.
Well,
he was even nominated.
There's technically 2 lead stories, and he is the B-roll lead of that one compared to the actual creation of the atomic bomb.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but he was great as a senator.
Was a B character, so he's used to playing that B role.
Yeah.
So trying to be funny. Because Marvel sold all their A-listers out back in the day, so he did a phenomenal job taking a B-list character and making him an A-tier character.
Right. Channing Tatum's more suited. That's funny.
I won't say a whole lot until we talk about the movie next week.
That's right.
But that's a good one.
That is funny. All right. Well, let's see. We're getting towards the end of the show, and what we always do at the end is, of course, talk about Kor-Drath, The Awakening. That's the book Dennis and I are doing right now, live on Indiegogo. You guys can go check it out. The link is, of course, in the description below. Kor-Drath, 64-page graphic novel. Kor-Drath and Adriana are back, fighting for the Shattered Reach, the land they live in. They need to prevent the evil Vordoom, the Undying, from collecting the ancient artifacts that would allow him the power to take over the Shattered Reach. Join Kor-Drath and Adriana on their latest quest as they go about their business trying to stop him and Necronite and Lilith from their evil plans. A couple new characters, some new monsters are in it. Click on the link in the description, scroll through the campaign at your leisure, see all the good stuff you can get. Of course, we've got the main cover that I did with Dan Lawless on colors. We've got the throwback homage cover that I did. Bud Root is back with his variant cover featuring Adriana. And if you did partake in the first campaign And you got Bud's cover for that book. Let's see, is this the right image? It is. Those covers line up and go right together to form one nice big image. So if you didn't back it on the first campaign, you can still get that variant cover as an add-on, so you can put the two together. We've got the Adriana t-shirt that featuring Bud's art. Of course, he did the Lilith that we made into a shirt. We've got a black and white edition of the book that you can read. It's not the artist edition like we did with the first campaign that was an oversized hardcover. This is a standard, just regular graphic novel, but the whole book is in black and white. Let's keep scrolling. The new game module Dennis wrote, Demise and Dracomort. Tell us a little bit about the game module, Dennis.
Well, in this one, the sequel to the first one, you are now in a village. And a village a couple generations ago got rid of a dragon. However, little did they know that some of the spawn of the dragon survived. And generations later, they've grown up. Dragons have come back for revenge. So what is the town going to do now that they're being invaded? Only you'll be able to tell by the characters you make to defeat the dragons.
There you go. The cover is by Bart Sears and Dan Lawless. They did the cover for the first one, and they're back for the cover for this one. We got the CBCS authorized signature graded and slabbed book. So once they come in, Dennis and I will sign them. And if you back this tier, we will mail you the graded book once we get it back from CBCS. Parody ad is back. And we are only $441 away from the first stretch goal, the Vordoom, the Undying playable character card. So if you are into the role-playing aspect of it, this is a playable character, just like the first 4 cards we did with the first campaign. Art on the front by myself and Dan Lawless. And on the back are stats that Dennis created for the character. He is a badass, but he could be defeated. That's right. Oh, no, not you, Dennis.
Yeah, that's what you meant.
Nah. I saved the sweet talking for when we're not on air.
Oh, boy.
You know that. Great add-ons. I'm doing Kor-Drath, the layouts. So it's all the layouts before I go to inking for Kor-Drath, the Awakening. So if you got this and the black and white edition, you could compare. So guys, go check it out. And manga version of The Reckoning, black and white, manga size, edited E for everyone, color digest size, a little bit bigger, but it's a digest size of Kor-Drath, The Reckoning.
Now your kids can read them too instead of playing on their phones while you're in the car.
That's right. We've got a minifigure of Kor-Drath that is also available. Let's see. Is it this one? Nope. It's that one. There you go. Each one comes in its own clamshell. You can get the 2-inch size, 3-inch, or 5-inch minifigure of Kor-Drath to either play in your role-playing game or just display. And, of course, we are also doing the, here it is, nice and bigger, the collector box. The Awakening tier gets you every variant cover, gets you the game module, gets you the Adriana playing card, and the collector box shipped in another box. So this one doesn't get messed up. So you can also add it on if you just want the box with one book. So guys, go check that out. And of course, we are still doing Kor-Drath, the Christmas Miracle, the children's book. That's right. 24 pages of story. The book is 28 pages. It is for kids, early readers. I'm drawing it in a simpler style. And yeah, you can read it to your fledgling reader, or they can read it themselves if they're just learning to read. So check this out. We've got a coloring and activity book that has the whole story in black and white. So you can color it with the text. And of course, extra pages of connect the dots, crossword, word search, things like that. So you can, once again, get that little one off the tech and give them some crayons. But wait, there's the adult version. That's right. We want people that read Kor-Drath, The Reckoning, and The Awakening to be able to enjoy this book. So we're swapping out some pages with a more adult version. You can see here in the kids version, he meets up with a bear, gives him some Christmas cookies, and everything's nice and happy. In the adult version, well, things don't end so nicely for the bear. We'll leave it at that.
You guys asked for an adult version. We're giving you an adult version.
Deliver.
But don't let your kids read that version. Let them read the age-appropriate one.
And then hand them down the adult version, because you can get the 3-pack for $37 and save $5, or you can buy the books individually. It's up to you. Links in the description below. These will ship in November, so you get them in time for this Christmas. So go check that out as well. And what's that? There you go. That's funny. So, and then tomorrow night, Dennis and I are going to see so Scott, every week, Dennis and I see a movie. Every Friday, we do a review and we drop it first thing in the morning. And we're going to go see the new M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movie, Trap.
Yeah. I've got potential. I think there's hope for this one.
Yeah, M. Night might be doing a good movie again. So that's not fair.
He's done a good couple ones. Old was good. He had some really good ones and then had a lot of misses, and he's been on the swing again. So I'm hopeful. Looks good.
Yeah. So we'll have that for you Friday morning. And then next Wednesday, 3 p.m., Christian Blatt of the Blatt Cast will join us, and we will go through Deadpool Wolverine spoilers all throughout the show next week.
So make sure you see it by then.
That's right. It'll have been out for 2.5 weeks. That's it, guys. We can talk spoilers at that point. Quick review, 1 to 10. What do you give Deadpool Wolverine, Scott?
I would give it probably a 9.2.
Look at that. I gave it a 9.8.
I gave it a
9.6. Look at that.
Here's what's interesting. I said I don't know on hindsight if I would do a 9.6, but there's been so much garbage that they put out. This was
It's
just
hard not to.
Breath of fresh air.
It's exactly, and maybe that's it. I'm like 9.2 because I'm looking big picture. They put out such garbage,
yes,
that anything's going to look like a 9 compared to what they've put. Anything decent is going to look like a 9.
It was just a great. It was and I've said this about other Marvel movies, but this one to me was the closest to like just really a comic book on screen. The action, the humor.
It's
great.
very much like I felt like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, that buddy comedy kind of travel thing.
It was
like Lethal Weapon.
It was a road trip.
Yeah, it was a buddy road trip. Another 48 hours. One of those.
That's right.
Yeah.
Next week, like I said, we will be delving into all the nooks and crannies of it, and hopefully you guys have seen it. That way nothing gets spoiled.
That's right. So until then, Scott, thanks for joining us. Hang back after so we can chat a little bit after we're not live. But yeah, thanks you for joining us.
Yep,
we hope you enjoyed it as well.
You guys.
Go get Juiceman. When does the next one launch? When are you thinking again?
Well, I just got today off the press issue 7.
Nice.
Trying to get it in the camera. So issue 7, I'm halfway through with issue 8. I'm hoping in November to launch issue 8.
All right. Well, we'll have you back on for sure when it's actually live, so we can pimp it some and
much appreciated.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. All right, let's see. We'll go out with a Christmas Miracle trailer and then a regular Kor-Drath trailer. Until next week, thanks for watching. Bye-bye, everybody.
Live long and prosper.
Damn it.